till 8.
Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Liz Reddy. Today's top stories. Senator Paddy Coffey will not be contesting the next general election. The Minister for Transport says everything is on target for the extension of the runway at Waterford Airport. The Managing Director of the Waterford-based TQS Integration says they're hoping to take on another 80 employees next year. And in sport, Ballygunner's Pádraig Mann is to captain the Waterford Senior Hurlers for 2020. Senator Paddy Coffey will not be contesting the next general election. He's notified Taoiseach Leo Varadkar and the party's General Secretary Tom Curran. Paddy Coffey was selected to run in the Waterford constituency over 2 years ago. However, he said in recent weeks he's reflected on his position and this weekend made the decision to leave public life when the current Senate term ends. He said he's been privileged to have represented his community as a public representative for over 20 years, serving as a member of Waterford County Council, Deputy Mayor of County Waterford, Chairman of the South East Regional Authority, a member of both Dáil and Shannon and also Minister of State. The Fine Gael Senator says he now looks forward to focusing on the next chapter of his life and spending more time with his wife and 3 children, and he was excited about new opportunities that may present themselves in the time ahead. He wished his 2 Fine Gael colleagues, Councillors John Cummins and Damien Geoghegan, the very best in the forthcoming general election. Waterford Minister of State John Halligan wished him all the best.
I'm surprised to hear that, to be honest with you, and I don't know why that's the case. I like Paddy, I work well with Paddy, and I want to say I've never made any derogatory remarks about any other politician in the Dáil or in Waterford here. They work very hard, every one of them. It's disappointing to hear that. I think he's a good worker and he's worked hard for Waterford. So all I can say is wish him the best for the future, and I'll probably meet him tomorrow.
His party colleague, Councillor Damien Geoghegan, thanked him for his service to Waterford.
Paddy has given a tremendous amount of time to his constituency here in Waterford. He followed in his father's footsteps, the late Pat Coffey, who also served for many, many years on Waterford County Council, and they were a mainstay in Fine Gael politics here in Waterford. And I just want to take the opportunity to wish Paddy the absolute very best, to wish himself and Suzanne and the Coffey family all the very best, and indeed to thank him for his service to the party.
He says Paddy never shied away from any subject.
The period of time that Paddy would have spent in government, as it were, between 2011 and 2016, they were very, very difficult times. I'd say no government in the history of the state faced such economic difficulties, but Paddy never shied away from defending the government's case, and he engaged very vociferously with the media, I have to say, and I think he deserves enormous credit for that.
The Managing Director of the Waterford-based TQS Integration says they're hoping to take on another 80 employees next year. The Global Data Intelligence Consultancy Group is in the process of filling a number of posts. Moira Quilty says their Lismore headquarters gives employees a great work-life balance.
I was in Dublin for the last 2 years doing a course, and sitting in traffic, it would really wreck your head. Lismore is so appealing. I would really encourage people to think in the county. We have loads of jobs at the moment. There's about probably 50 jobs coming aboard again in all areas. Just go onto our website and have a look. We picked here because it's stress-free. There's no queues, no traffic lights. You can have a better work-life balance. So I would appeal to people, look twice about moving to Cork or Dublin.
She says training is given for all posts.
Mainly engineering, and the other thing I would love to appeal is we've an awful lot of young engineers moved out to Canada, Australia, New Zealand. We would love to get them back. They have the basics, and in here, even though anything to do with data, we specialise. They will be trained. We've completely changed our company, so training is key for us. So it doesn't matter where you have been or what you have been doing. On the website there's always jobs, but regardless if it isn't, just apply.
There was a slight drop in the number of patients waiting to see a consultant at University Hospital Waterford last month. However, people in Waterford are still waiting longer than anywhere else in the country. WLR's Sinead Ahern has the details.
41,531 people were waiting for an outpatient appointment at UHW at the end of November. That's a drop of almost 600 people since October, when the list peaked at over 42,000. However, more than a quarter, 12,130 people, are on that list for a year and a half or more. Nationally, 105,000 people are waiting at least 18 months for a first appointment, meaning University Hospital Waterford makes up 11% of the total. In Waterford, 9,722 people are on the otolaryngology or ear, nose and throat list alone. It's followed by 6,600 for orthopaedics and just over 5,000 for dermatology.
The average price paid for motor insurance shot up by 62% between 2013 and 2018. The central bank's first ever private motor insurance report also shows legal costs for most cases settled in court make up nearly 2/3 of the total compensation awarded. Shane Beattie reports.
The average premium in 2009 was €498. By 2013 it was €435. By last year, premiums had increased by 62% to €706. While the number of claims are down, the cost per claim is up 64%, meaning drivers paying much higher premiums. Claims settled through the Personal Injuries Assessment Board had an average compensation of around €22,000 and legal fees of just €753. While the majority of claims settled through litigation had similar compensation levels, legal fees were over €14,000. The central bank says the more cases settled through PIAB, the greater the potential for lower premiums.
Gardaí say they'll have increased checkpoints throughout Waterford City and County over the Christmas period to detect drink and drug driving. Garda Inspector Niall Daly says they want to get people home safely and ensure no family has to endure a bereavement.
There's families left bereaved, there's children left without fathers or mothers who've been killed, by drink drivers, and this is repeated across the country. The Road Safety Authority had an event here recently in Waterford City to remember those people who'd lost their lives, and it was attended by families, and it was very difficult to listen to some of the young people and siblings and partners of people who had been killed by drink drivers or drug drivers. We've enough fatalities every year. We're trying to reduce the numbers, and our focus is road safety.
The former Pine Rooms in Tramore is to reopen next year as the Beach House restaurant. Tramore native Peter Hogan is closing one of his restaurants, the Fish Shop in Queen Street in Dublin, but maintaining the Sister Wine Bar on Ben Burb Street. He and his wife Jamuki hope to be open for business in Waterford in February. The former teacher explained how he got involved in the food business.
Come from a long line of hairdressers in the family, and everyone always had their own shop and things, so maybe it had something to do with it. But started doing street food at the weekends and sort of took a part-time job in a kitchen while we were teaching, and we moved in 2013 to Dublin with a business idea and started with us in a very small setting in Blackrock Market to do a really good fish and chips, and it sort of grew from there.
Peter said they started thinking about a move when the house on Turkey Road in Tramore, which dates from the 1870s, came up for rent.
We always knew we'd kind of move on to something a little bit bigger from Queen Street, so to be able to find that space in our hometown of Tramore is kind of dream come true, and a unique space, that we wouldn't have been able to find anywhere else. A really good restaurant, proper real food, good ingredients, and everyone still remembers the dishes, the steak, the duck à l'orange, the sole on the bone, and proper real food, and not a million miles away from what we tried to do in our own restaurant.
WLR Sport.
And a very good afternoon, I'm Gavin, Whelan. Starting with Gaelic Games, and Pádraig Manny of Ballygunner has been selected to captain the Waterford Senior Hurlers for 2020. Manny has been a team regular and key influence in attack since making his debut in 2011. He had another solid season with his club as the Gunners landed their 6th county title in a row. Besides, Conor Prunty has been selected as vice captain for the Daoise. He had an excellent debut season with dominant displays and will be keen to carry that form into the 2020 campaign. The Daoise, who are under a new manager in Liam Cahill, will play their first competitive game in the Munster Senior Hurling League on December 29th with a home tie against Cork in Fairfield. They'll take on the same opposition in the opening round of the Alliance League as well in January. Going to go next to soccer. Liverpool and Manchester City will both make trips to Madrid for the last 16 of the Champions League after the draw was made earlier this morning in Neon. Holders Liverpool will face Atletico Madrid, while Pep Guardiola's Manchester City will take on Real. Jose Mourinho's Spurs have drawn Leipzig. Frank Lampard's first taste of Champions League knockout football will be against 5-time winners Bayern Munich. Elsewhere in the draw, Dortmund will play Paris Saint-Germain. Atalanta will face Valencia. Lyon will be up against Juve, and Barcelona will take on Napoli. The draw has also been complete for the last 32 of the Europa League. Arsenal will face a familiar side in Olympiacos. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will bring his Manchester United side to Belgium to take on Bruges. Celtic will be up against Copenhagen in the knockout stages of the unseeded British sides. Wolves were the first team out of the hat. They'll take on 2017 finalists Espanyol, while Rangers were the last team out of the hat. They will take on Braga. Next to news of darts, and the action continues in Alexandra Palace later. 4 Irish players in action at the PDC World Championships. Brendan Dolan is in action against two-time former champion Gary Anderson in the second round. The Fermanagh native saw off India's Nitin Kumar 3-0 at Alexandra Palace yesterday. 17-year-old star Keane Barry, Limerick's Willie O'Connor and Steve Lennon from Carlow also make their first round bows later on this afternoon. And finally to racing, there's a 7 race jumps card at Naas this afternoon. The first at the Kildare track went to post at 12:20. That's the latest on WLR. More at 2.